What are you doing in 1 hour? Drizzly, you're getting your favorite beer, wine, and spirits delivered right to your door from Drizzly. Drizzly is the most convenient way to buy beer, wine, and spirits, with delivery to your doorstep in under 60 minutes. Right now, Drizzly is giving new customers $5 off their first order with code FAST5. Go download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com and use promo code FAST5 for $5 off your first order.
Introducing Under Armour's Infinity High Sports Bra. Its ergonomic design is molded to support the natural movement of your body. With cord-out padding, the better breathability eliminates extra bulk without sacrificing support. And quick-dry padding is Under Armour's fastest-drying padding yet. When you're lifting heavy, running fast, and pushing yourself further than ever before, you need a bra that will help you go that extra mile and make you feel your best. Shop the Infinity High Sports Bra now at UA.com.
Welcome to the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast. I'm Danny Sheriff, your host, certified fertility awareness practitioner, functional nutrition counselor, and founder of the HA Society, and of course, an HA recovery coach who has walked where you currently are walking. This is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. So let's dive in. But last thing, nothing on the show should be taken as medical advice, so please seek the advice of your physician. So over a year ago, I created something called the 7-Day HA Recovery Commitment Challenge, and I've been running it for over a year. It was this free email-based challenge, so lots of reading, but you would get an email every day for 7 days to help you overcome and tackle the different but important areas that you need to be checking off in order to get your period back. Now, over time, I have collected some really great feedback, and upon working with all of these wonderful, amazing women, really started to learn even more about what works and what doesn't. And so I'm excited to be introducing to you guys the updated version. It's called the 7-Day HA Recovery Kickoff, and it is totally designed to help you not just commit to the process and have all of your ducks in a row in terms of important factors that need to be tackled and issues that need to be overcome in order to get your period, but the whole thing is now based in video. So you can listen/watch, and every day for 7 days, we will tackle nutrition. There's actually 2 days of that because it's so big. We'll tackle lifestyle, we'll tackle exercise, your support network, your mindset game. Each video goes from anywhere between 12 minutes and 5 minutes, so it's not very long, but you'll get all of the most important areas and the best tips and strategies for how to implement them. Because I know that going through recovery is hard. There's always an area for each person that is a little bit difficult to execute on. And so the goal, or maybe a lot difficult. So the goal of this challenge is to help you have the awareness, the self-awareness, and the tools and strategies you need to overcome each of the different issues that AHA recovery faces for us. So get on it. It's great if you're at the very beginning of recovery or if you're halfway through. I mean, we never know how far through we are until it's over, do we? But no matter where you're at, it can be a really good opportunity to check in and look for blind spots and areas where you might be dropping the ball in your nutrition, in your lifestyle, maybe it's your support network that's a problem, maybe exercise is something that you are still struggling with making changes to. So check it out. Go to thehasociety.com/7-day-challenge, or the link will be on the website. So it may be in the show notes of this show. It may not be. Just go to thehasociety.com and you'll find it in the footer, or you'll find it in the pop-up that happens when you visit the page. And we will see you for day 1 of the challenge. I'm going to bring this over to me. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the AJ podcast. I'm here with actually one of my clients. Her name is Lindsay. I don't know if you want to share your full name. Do you want to share your full name?
Go for it. I'm good with it.
Okay, Lindsay O'Connell. Okay, she's one of my clients, and this is a bit of a different, this is a different episode because it's not an HA recovery story just yet because she's still in it. But she certainly has a lot of experience recovering from various things. And one of the cool things that I've learned along the way working with Lindsay is how intertwined and similar recovery from all different types of addictions and challenges can be. And so Lindsay has HA, and she's going to share about her story a bit, but I wanted to bring her on because she's essentially oh my gosh, what's it called? Where you're like an expert in something because you've been through it all. Let's just say an expert in something because she's been through it all in all kinds of addiction. Like I want her to share it. I want her to talk to you guys about it. But I wanted to bring her on the show because I am not an expert in these things. And we haven't really had anyone come on and share from this perspective. And there's definitely people listening who are not just like, hey, I went on a diet, I started over exercising, I lost my period, and then, I did some work and I got it back. Like there are people with more complicated stories or more complicated backstories and more just different challenges that are getting, that are getting kind of in the way sometimes of like what would for other people be a linear progression from HA to getting the period back. So welcome, Lindsay. Will you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your story?
Thank you so much, Danny. I'm so excited to be here. I know we've talked about this a bit too. And to everyone out there, my name's Lindsay O'Connell. I am 36. I am originally from New Jersey. I live near the Jersey Shore. I live in New York right now. And a little bit about myself. I have, I've dealt with like health related issues most of my life, more specifically in the gastrointestinal area. I guess like around in my early 20s, I started struggling with like late teens, early 20s, I started struggling with substance abuse, like dependency. And that also played into me being very skinny, restricting my food intake, not because of necessarily I wanted to be thin reasons. I mean, that was just an added bonus, to be quite honest. But the drug I was using was like my main drug of choice was Adderall. So most of you may know Adderall being for ADHD. Some people use it to help study. I know that's not always, the main purpose of that, to abuse it if you don't need it, like if you don't have the ADHD symptoms. But I used it because it was, it gave me a euphoric high. And that's actually I've done some research over the years. That's actually a side effect, actually more of a rare side effect, or I guess maybe an adverse effect too. But I actually was like, wow, this is great. It feels great. But then also the more I took it, the more it's a
Appetite suppressant.
Thank you. It's an appetite suppressant. So that's also another side effect of it that's not highly desirable to most people. So with that came my appetite was suppressed. I was restricting a lot because I wasn't hungry all the time. And so once again, these kind of went hand in hand. So I'll get back to the addiction part because I know that Danny wants to ask some questions about that. And I feel like being guided by her questions are going to really help me stay focused, because sometimes, my path of recovery in addiction, smoking. I used to call like the, my friends and I, like in our late teens, called it the model diet, like, Diet Coke and cigarettes, and we didn't have much of anything else. But anyway, I'll let her guide me on that. But I guess a little bit more about myself. Just I'm currently studying to become an acupuncturist and Chinese medicine practitioner, and so that's been amazing. It's part of why I'm here. So it's a big part of my journey. Let's see, I've been dealing with HA for a little over 10 years now. With that, I'm going to, I guess, dive into the interview itself so we can kind of go from there.
Yes. So yeah, I love how, I see where you're coming from. Your history has a lot of different paths and areas. And sometimes it's one of those ones where you're like, where did you even get time to like do all of this?
Definitely.
But yeah, so here we are. And so it's been really interesting because you have had definitely unique challenges as a result of this past. And those, unique challenges that many of our listeners will understand, will say it's hard for us to get weight on Lindsay because she has digestive challenges that make us have to take little baby steps, bite-sized steps towards eating more, which as a result, we to bring her metabolism up to get her body weight at a place where it wants to cycle. And so it's just more incremental. And that's one of the challenges, is like the time that it takes. And it's not as easy for you, right, to just like eat a ton more food. And what are you at, like 2,500 calories a day?
Yep.
Like that's massive. Yeah, that's really massive, but we have to be careful with it. And there's been hiccups along the way. And these things probably cause, emotional and mental challenges in addition to the classic ones that everyone's going with. Do you want to share a little bit about what that's like and what waters you have to tread when it comes to recovery?
Yeah. So, I guess one of the first things that comes to mind is, I can't, like, it's extremely frustrating, because I can't just dive in, like when it was the all go in, right? Like the all in. I wish I could have just delved right into having, any type of animal protein or even plant protein, because, I'm not against the animal protein. Like I feel like it serves a purpose. And at least right now in my life, the animal protein is what I need. And I know I need it. I wish I could be like, oh yeah, I'm going to have the fatty dark meat that Danny talked to me about, like where most of the nutrients lies. And I'm like, darn, like, I'm so scared of trying that because sometimes the dark fatty meat is a little bit greasier. And for me, the greasy oil, maybe not greasy, but like the oily part, like it's more like that because it's juicier. And I'm like, I'm nervous trying that because oil and grease have been like a thing for me in the past that when I started having massive GI issues was when actually I started to lose my period, like not too long after it actually. Is that like when my restriction got so bad because I was always getting sick from, I suffer from partial bowel obstructions. And so where things can't I can't fully digest things and I'm not moving my bowels and I'll have episodes. And so for me, that's very traumatizing. And so if I think about what I ate before, and if it was like, whatever it was, like, oh, it was too high in fiber or it was too oily or greasy, I'm just going to stay away from it. So having to doing that for years, at least 10 years, eating that way, and then saying like, okay, to introduce it into my diet again is really scary. So that was just like, I think I had like a little bite of my husband's, chicken thigh one day, just because I wanted to try the dark meat. I was scared. There's so much fear around it. There's so much, stress on my mind and my body, because I like literally freeze in fear when I have to like, try something new or reintroduce it. It's not really new, it's just reintroducing it into my body. Because I used to eat I didn't have much of a diet restriction growing up, to be honest. I really ate everything. I mean, I never had an issue. I mean, occasionally, sure, but yeah, never restricted my food until my late teens.
Yeah. I mean, and this is how we know a big part of it is like caused by a trauma that happened.
Definitely.
So I don't know, whatever you're doing is like causing lots of static into the mic. So I don't know if you're moving something, just heads up. It's out of nowhere.
Please keep me posted.
Yeah, I have to tell people. So you're describing things that I know there are people listening who are like, yes, that's me. Like no one ever talks about how it's scary, for reasons other than just weight gain, to eat these foods and to come from a place where like, I just don't come from I didn't get here the same way everyone else got here. So what is it about your story or about addiction specifically that makes recovery challenging? It's a broad question, so you may go however direction you'd like.
Okay.
Well, and let me add this to make it a bit easier too. I think everyone listening has a level of it, right? We're all like, we're addicted to something. We're addicted to like the weight loss. We're addicted to the dieting. We're addicted to eating the way that we eat, or we're, obsessed maybe with our body image, things like that. So we can all relate on that level. Is there something about your history of addiction that you feel like brings it up a notch and makes it additionally more challenging? Or do you feel like they're actually quite similar? And it's just that because you're dealing with the additional digestive challenges, that's really what makes, really what brings most of the challenge into it for you.
I feel that there's a little bit of both. And so I'll start with sharing one of the challenges and struggles I feel I have is with my addiction from drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. I feel that some people talk about indulging in like alcohol and I don't think that that's necessarily like probably the best choice, but like maybe they get their period back. And like, I've seen pictures on your Instagram of celebrating with a bottle of wine or something.
Yeah.
And it's
Ashley and I have like a GIF when we cheers.
Yeah. Like I'm like it kind of pisses me off that like, no, there's anger there. There's like, well, why did they get to celebrate with like, cheers with like, nice champagne or wine? And it's like, when I get my period back, like I can't do that. And that kind of gets me angry because like, I'm like, well, I can't, because with me, if I did that, it wouldn't end there. I would eventually just kind of like spiral over time into, a full-blown addiction.
How many years sober are you?
13.
Nice.
Woo. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so interesting that anger comes up for you.
Definitely. It's like, because it's kind of like I feel left out, like, well, why can they do that, but I can't? And it's like, yeah, like I wish that I could be that type of person that could have like a glass or two of wine to celebrate and like not have it every day, right? Like, or like have it turn into like unmanageability and a full-blown addiction. But with like, I know that I can't. It's just like, I know my mind, I know where it goes, because if I have that one, so like a common theme and saying in recovery, 12-step recovery, really anywhere you go, alcohol, drug addiction, sex addiction, even, those areas too, is one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And I know behind, like if I did do that, if I had that one drink, it's exactly where it will go. Like that, those thoughts are there. I know it's right there. So I guess that's like what sticks out in that aspect. Maybe there's a little bit of fear that like I might become obsessive and addicted to another area, and it wouldn't be healthy, just because another thing with, addiction recovery is that substitution. So like, that's why they tell you to like, you can't be using any mind or mood altering substances, because your addiction, it's like, okay, so I put down my drug of choice. Let's say it's smoking weed. I don't know. And then like, you can't just say, okay, I'm not going to smoke weed. And then you just pick up a substitution. So maybe someone drinks a lot now, or uses something else a lot more instead. So it's common that substitutions come in. And so like, I don't want to, I don't want to substitute one thing for another and have it be this unhealthy relationship again, but just in another area. So I feel that kind of leads me into the other part where there's so many similarities. And I think Danny and I talk about this all the time, is that because of my 13 years of recovery from drugs, alcohol, all mood and mind altering substances, I even quit smoking cigarettes, within this process. I think there's so many similarities because of this, like, and it's also set the foundation for me that I was telling Danny this the other week, that I really, because of my recovery background, I know what Danny and Ashley are doing right now to like help us get our period back works, because I've done this over the past 13 years in other areas of my life, but it's built that foundation for me to get to this point so I could be successful in my recovery from HA. Because recovery also with HA, like, I love how you ladies talk about, just because you get your period back doesn't mean that it stops. Because just like in drug addiction, just because we got clean, our recovery just starts.
You're still addicted. You're just clean right now.
Yeah, because it's not about the drugs that got us there or the food, right? It's like there's something else behind it. It's our patterns and behaviors that no longer serve a purpose that has created our life to be so unmanageable, where we lose our period, we lose weight, we're losing all, other areas of our lives and our health that is not healthy. And so I feel that like having this background in recovery is like, it just shows me, it's evidence that I can do this. It's just another area of my life.
Yeah.
That I'm, recovering. And it's like, it works. What you ladies do here, it works. We just have to keep at it and persevere. The other similarity is that having a coach, which I know is not for everyone, but like, I feel for me it is, because it helps keep me accountable for my goals, and it sets a direction. Like, and Danny, I do coach with Danny, and Danny is like my, I guess, sponsor, right? So to speak, in 12-step recovery, we have sponsors. And so they hold you accountable, and they're there for you to work through the hard times and celebrate the good times, like the milestones. And and the growth that you've been through. And it's also that healthy relationship building. Like your sponsorship is like kind of like the first healthy relationship in this stage of your life and recovery. Like that encourages you to be healthy and to continue on that path, and that you've got this, and celebrates your wins, like we said, and helps you during the times of that you're struggling. So you don't go back out and use, or you don't go back to the gym because you're scared. You talk to you go to the community call and you talk about how you're feeling. You use your resources, or you email your coach or your friend in recovery, if you're lucky enough to make friends in recovery. There's so many similarities, but like these are the things that come up. And I think these are so important to keep in mind when we're recovering from anything, right?
Yeah. Because the way I have always seen it is like, it's if you're going it alone, which is definitely for many people, but if you're going it alone, you're just so biased, like we have a lot of great reasons to go in the direction of, whatever it is for you. Like, oh, maybe I should have a cigarette just because this is like a really stressful time, or you know what I mean? And for people, it's like, oh, well, maybe I should just give up like on recovery for a bit. Or like I should just pick this up in a few months' time because XYZ is going on. And sounds like a very viable choice that makes a lot of sense when you're the only person in the conversation.
Yeah, that's a really, really good thing that you brought up, because it makes me think of actually, we talked about this the other week, Danny, is having reservations. And I think it's important to bring back up, because in the 12-step program that I'm a part of, we talk about reservations being something that we all have. And pretty much in a nutshell, it's the thought pattern of, if this thing happens, like something maybe scary, or that you're fearful of happening, like if I get a divorce, or if it could be as simple, it's like, if I reach a certain weight, I'm going to go back out and go to the gym. I'm going to take a break from recovery, or I'm going to stop eating because I can't, like, I'm going to restrict again because I can't handle being at this weight or going through this particular life event. So, in recovery from addiction, that's called a reservation. It's actually part of like the first step, so to speak. There's 12 steps.
Is to identify what your reservation is.
Yeah. So that's part of the first step, is admitting that you have a problem, that you are powerless over that problem. But also that powerlessness comes from, having those reservations. So we're powerless over our thoughts. Like, so what they say is that if you have a reservation, talk about it. So, in parallel to recovery from HA, if you have that reservation that, oh my gosh, I'm getting married, I'm so scared that I'm not going to fit into my wedding dress, or what, if that's maybe something that comes up, that you talk about it with, maybe at the community call. Some people really like that.
Okay, so something's coming up for me.
Yeah.
And so I have brought this up a lot in community calls and chats, so people have probably heard it before, but I often talk about how I was very public with when I came out and was like, this is a thing that I'm doing. And I talk about it because I've always connected that I wanted to tell everyone, hey, I have this thing called HA because I've been dieting and working out really hard for the last however many years. And so I'm doing this thing, and I just want you to know, right? Like I wanted everyone to know. And the belief in my head is that it's because I wanted people to not think I didn't know that my body was changing, and that I didn't know that I was, eating differently. Like I just like, just so you know, I know this is happening. But as you're speaking, I also wonder if, even if it wasn't intentional, it was helpful to me because I have now said out loud, like, I know that if I do this by myself and quietly, I may kind of get dragged back in to what all of you, because it was my community, right? My community was like this health and wellness world. I might get dragged back into what you guys are doing, but I'm going to say out loud right now that this is an issue for me and this is something that I'm doing. And now I can't hide it. It's it kind of feels like, in a way, sharing my reservation somehow. Like, that's just, as you were speaking, going public felt like saying, hey, I have a problem and this is what I'm going to do about it.
I'm so glad you can identify, because that's so important for like even our listeners to say like, okay, I can't identify with that portion of what Lindsay was saying, but like, you know what, Danny brought up a great point. I can identify, with what I was talking about. And what you said about, admitting your powerlessness, that like you're coming out and saying, hi, I'm Danny and I'm recovering from HA. So that's what came to my mind when you said it, because you've probably seen in movies, like if you've never been to a 12-step meeting, you've seen like, hi, I'm Lindsay and I'm an addict, or I'm an alcoholic, right? You've heard that. People have heard that all over the world, I'm sure. And in recovery, we say, when we start sharing, we say, hi, I'm Lindsay, and I'm I'm an addict, or I'm a recovering addict, or a grateful recovering addict, whatever you want to say. And the reason why we say it, it's not because it's like, oh, this is the spiel, this is what we say. The reason why we say it is because the more we say it, the more we identify with it. And like Danny said, like, you're like, if I don't say and admit that, like, I have a problem, I'm going to go back out with my community, like, and that's where that reservation comes in. It's like, it's like, I'm going to go back to my community because it's what's comfortable and what's familiar. And I know it's not good for me, but that's my community, that's my base. And so like, just like in recovery from any addiction, it's like, oh, well, I used to use with all these people, and that's my, even if I didn't have a drug dealer, to be honest with you, but like some people have like drug dealers that they consider their friends or their community and the people they used with. And so it's easy for them, if they don't admit that, coming to that conclusion and admission that they have a problem and they need help. The first second of fear that comes up, because look, life happens, right? We lose jobs, something bad happens, or life happens, right? The first second that happens, they're going to go back out to their community, their people, places, and things, is what the 12-step community talks about, where they used with, or, where they used at, and the people they used with. So that's why it's so important to identify that, like, I'm Lindsay and I'm an addict. Like, you're coming to that realization that it's okay. And that powerlessness is not giving up. Accepting that you're powerless over something isn't a negative thing. So some people like think, oh my God, I'm powerless. That's terrible. Like, I want to be in power. I want to be control. Like, I want to control my life. So it's not about that. It's actually about surrendering not in a bad way, but giving up the fight. You don't have to fight anymore. It's not about losing. It's that surrender means I don't want to be in pain anymore, and I need help, and I want a better way to live. Right? So whatever you're recovering from, it's like, I want my period back. So if you're not identifying with what I'm saying, here's the underlying fact. Like, you want it, like, I want to get my period back, is what I hear from myself and from other women here on this platform. So just because in my path of addiction, I just didn't want to use anymore. I was in a lot of pain. No one wanted to be around me. I lost so many people in my life. I just wanted a better way of life. And so we here on this platform want a better way of life for our health and our longevity and our well-being. We want our period back. We want a better way of life. We want to manageably, know how to eat healthy. We want to be able to go out to the restaurant and
we don't want to be guided by our like addiction,
Yeah.
Because that's why I really was pumped to have you on the show, because it just is various levels of addiction for different people. Like we said this before, but if you realize, oh my gosh, I'm missing my period because I've been over exercising, and can just go and make the changes, and Bob's your uncle, you're not listening to this show. Like it was easy for you. You weren't addicted. You just like didn't realize what was happening. The rest of us are having a lot of trouble making the changes.
Yeah.
And how helpful is it? Like you tell me, how helpful is it for a lot of these people maybe to get the first step by just acknowledging what's going on and that they're powerless to it? Like what comes after that?
It's that release, that like, it's that feeling that like, yes, I've been waiting for this moment to allow myself the help. So, because I think that sometimes we want the help so bad. It's like, I know I'm not happy right now. I know, but like, oh God, I want to restrict. I want to look this good all the time. I want to go to the gym. It makes me feel so good. And it's like, but I'm so addicted to that part, like that part of my life, that those life choices, like that is, you're pulled in that direction. But this really, like, it's that release of like allowing yourself to finally accept and allow yourself to get the help that you need.
Yeah, that like helps you get off the hamster wheel and
It does
take a different action.
But I think what's so helpful that you've created here, Danny, and I just want to give you so much credit. Like, I'm so grateful for what you've provided, this online platform and these community calls and these coaching options, is that this is what fosters like our success in recovery. Because you can admit that you're powerless over your addiction or your HA. But in order to maintain that through the really tough times, because when that real hard work comes in, where that HA has been covering those emotions, that loss, or whatever it is that you started restricting and working out obsessively, whatever that you were covering up with, that is coming, it's going to come up. Because you're stopping, right? So you stop going to the gym, you stop restricting, all those things are going to come up. So those patterns and behaviors that we did not want to look at for so long, you have created a healthy environment and a community, just like we had a community with, CrossFit, or the community you talked about, Danny, the community at the gym, and whatever it is that we built, now you've helped create this community for us in recovery, is what I'm saying. So that support network, I think, is one of the biggest pieces that has kept me clean all this time. Because when all of these things that like we haven't even gotten into about like my past, we all have a past that comes up in our recovery, the fact that we have a community call to talk about it at, or a coach to meet, bi-weekly with, the fact that we have that support network becomes our new community and becomes our support for like to keep going and And like, let's say you have that reservation, like, oh my God, all these things are coming up and it's so hard to handle, because it will be. It's the fact of life that this is going to happen and it's going to be difficult. But like, knowing that you can express yourself and express that reservation that you may have, or those feelings that come up, that's the whole part, is you want to express yourself so you don't go back out and you don't relapse, I guess. Right. That's the community. That's really what it is. It's the support community. And that's what I think I really needed all these years, that I tried different things. Like, look, I'm studying to be an acupuncturist. Acupuncture is wonderful for recovery of anything, honestly, but something was still missing. I wasn't getting my period back. I'm like, darn, I'm learning about how acupuncture and herbs, like, they can get your period back. They can, but you know what? I was missing something.
Yeah, not without a certain foundation. Yeah,
exactly. So you need the foundation. You need to gain the weight back. I bet you once I go back to acupuncture after, starting this recovery path with Danny and the HA Society, I know I needed to gain that weight back. That's the thing. That was one of the missing pieces. Now that I'm gaining weight back and I go back to the acupuncture, the blood is just going to flow. I know it sounds weird, but like, the blood building that they do with the different points and the herbs, I had the resources needed to be built up. So my body needed to be build up those resources, but sustain it. Right. So we needed to, that's what we need to do in this program, I feel. But I was missing this. I was missing community and the support. And it holds me accountable, not just for my goals, but when I'm having really tough times. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing about it on a community call, not everyone is. Look, I still go to my 12-step meetings, right? But some people are like, oh my God, sharing in a meeting, like with a bunch of people, oh, like crap, that is so scary. So then reach out to a friend or reach out to your coach personally, because some people don't want to share, they're not ready to, and that's okay. You, Danny, you took it public because that's just you. But some people are like, oh my God, I cannot post this,
That's why a big part for me is, or for us, is to like have this this podcast playlist for the members where all of the recordings are posted, because there's of our community calls, because there's a lot of people who don't want to attend, don't want to listen, don't want to share, at least yet, but are showing up in the sense that they're putting their foot in and they're listening and they're hearing other people share stories and they're resonating with it. And they're saying like, oh, me too. And hey, she can do it. And it's like, yes, community does strengthen you. If not, realizing that you're not alone does strengthen you. That's why so many people do get their period back on their own, because they have all of these podcasts now and they have so much help on social media that those people, there are people who can feel sufficient community and support, even in just that way. But many of us, need it like to talk to each other as well. And it is so impactful to get those different perspectives and mindset shifts and just see yourself in others and see that it's possible and want to help others too. I feel like that's a thing, right? You're like, oh, yeah, she's going through that. And I want her to not struggle.
The HA Society is taking clients. Coach Ashley and I work one-on-one with HAers, as we call you, to help you figure out a plan and, of course, implement it and stay accountable. Whether you've worked with a health practitioner already and you just want to stay accountable and strategic with the plan that they've laid out for you, or you want to start from scratch looking at all the aspects of your recovery needs and to create a game plan to reach those needs, then we are definitely your girls. When you sign up to work one-on-one with one of us, We're going to go over your history, your biggest obstacles, ensure that we're taking into account your specific goals, and start making a plan to reach them. So those goals could be getting your period back, could be getting pregnant, could be getting back to exercise or sport, or simply working on your mindset around your body image and long-term recovery. We also can teach you the fertility awareness method. So if you want to learn that so that you have the skills you need to go out into the world on your own without fear of getting HA again, we have got your back. So our coaching packages are either weekly or bi-weekly and only a month at a time commitment. So you're not paying tons and tons of money for 5-6 months. It's month to month, which is awesome. Makes perfect sense for period recovery, right? So to learn about other women's experiences working with us and to apply for a coaching spot, plus ask any questions that you might have before getting started, just go to thehasociety.com/coaching.
Well, absolutely. I think as humans, we feel that way naturally, maybe not on the large scale as becoming maybe a coach. Some people have that desire, but some people don't, right? But like, it's also another parallel to 12-step recovery is there's a saying that says, in order to keep what we have, we must give it away. So that's once you have clean time and recovery and you're working through your steps, right? You know, you eventually say, I want to help that newcomer. I know they can get clean and stay clean. And maybe I want to sponsor them. Maybe I want to give them my phone number so they can reach out to me when they're having a hard time. And help them build their community.
Yes, so many girls do that in the group. They'll be like, oh, I had a really hot day, but I was chatting with so-and-so. And I'm like, well, what? Like,
yeah,
I didn't even know you guys were sharing details. It's very cool.
Yeah, I think I think that's wonderful. And that's, look, this online community, the support community you've created for us, Danny, it not only just provides that support, but like, look, some people are like, I want to read a little more about it. And look what you've provided. You bring guests on that they could listen to podcasts of guests that are functional nutritionists or, doing the different tests outside of lab tests or learning about my hormones. What are they doing? Why are they so important to maintain? Oh, wow. I didn't know that, this contributes towards, better, getting your period and your gastrointestinal health and your mental health. They're all connected. And because of my hormones, you learn about, maybe some people want to educate themselves first.
Totally.
And you have those resources. So that's like an added benefit of being a part of the HA Society, because you can read up and educate yourself about why is it important that I'm here? Why is it important that I restore my my period? And I love that. So it's community support. It's about the self-education about why it's so important. And I want to just say to the listeners that, and myself included, you're not here because you were court ordered to, right? Or you were forced to. You're here because you were passionate enough to say, I want help, and I identify with Danny and what she's created. Give yourself credit that you are here because you want to be here. So maybe you're not ready to fully give, you're not fully ready to give up your exercise routine, and that's okay. Keep coming. Please come to our community calls. You will become ready. The more you hear other women talk about getting their period back and getting through struggles without restricting, and they share one week at a community call that they, oh my gosh, I just want to go out and go to the gym so bad. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then find out next week that they come back and said, I did it because of you ladies. Like, thank you so much for your support. I made it this week without going back to the gym or restricting. Like, they did it. And like, use that as encouragement, it's, you're here for a reason.
People Some of the people I'm extra impressed with are those that are like, hey, I'm here and I'm still exercising a lot.
You should be.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
I'm impressed that you're here right now instead of waiting. Like I can't join yet. I can't be a part of your conversation because I still have these behaviors. And it's like,
and that's okay. We want
backwards.
you here. Yeah, no, you should be here. And so if you're listening and saying like, I don't know that I'm ready to put this all down, that's okay. Come listen to these podcasts for free. Come to these calls, reach out to Danny and see like, I'm not ready for all this, but what can I be doing right now to foster my recovery at this stage? And like another parallel to my recovery from drugs and alcohol is that they say to, if you're new to this program and you're not clean right now, that's okay. We want you to stay. Maybe not share, but like, because we don't want to hear from your addiction or from the drugs, but please come back, share with someone after the meeting, and just keep coming back. That's the whole point. And the longer you keep coming, the more you keep coming back, the more that these things that you hear will settle in. And then when you are ready to take that jump, you already have a support community here and you know where to go.
Yeah.
I
love it.
Me too.
Yeah, I love hearing your perspective on it. It's so hard because it's inspiring. It's like I'm pumped to go out and help people today. And this is a big part of why I wanted your wisdom. Like I feel like you just have so much wisdom on it because you've just been through it from all these different perspectives. Like you get what's happening in people's brains, because and I don't think a lot of us see that, but here's actually the benefit of sharing with your partner or your family about like what's going on, or telling people in your life who may actually, like a group of friends you have that talk a lot about diet culture. Here's why telling them, might be helpful, or removing yourself from their friendship might be helpful, whatever step you need to take for yourself. Why putting yourself first is actually so important.
Yeah. I think I'm so glad you mentioned this too, because one of the hardest things I think as a recovering addict comes up is that either you have to cut off your friends, certain friends, like people like, look, I cut off certain people that I know I used to go and say like, hey, you want one of my Xanax for an Adderall? Great. Like that person is not conducive to my recovery. And unfortunately I had to cut them off, at least for now, or limit my conversation with them, right? Until I feel stronger and better in my recovery. Or I keep a certain group of friends and that understand and respect my recovery, that know that like, oh, Lindsay's a recovering addict and she can't go out and drink. But guess what? Like I had friends that respect that. And like, let's say for birthday parties or something, like two of my best friends, they used to have their birthday parties and go out to the bars and stuff and say, you know what, Lindsay, I know you can't come, but like, let's do something with you. And so like to celebrate like for our birthday, so you don't feel left out. And so they like, everyone knows I don't drink, and saying that to like people, or like, it's hard, right? Like, you go into, my husband drinks and like, it's like to his friends, it's like, oh, I don't drink, but I'll have a cup of coffee or something. So it's like admitting that to these people, maybe that's, you keep them around and they respect that you're recovered, you're in recovery, but you have to let them know at the very least, so you can go around to these things, but just, yeah.
And what I like about this is, I think a lot of people, I don't know how to word this, but it's like taking a big action, right? And I think when we hear, addiction to drugs, it makes perfect sense that you would take the big brave action of cutting certain people off, or like removing yourself from the situation completely. But with HA recovery, it's like, oh, well, no, I'm just being dramatic, or I should be able to, because I think one of the differences is that alcoholism or drug addiction is not socially accepted in the way that being the perfect woman with the perfect body and the perfect career and yada yada is extremely socially accepted. So there's a difference there. And so we have to take big, brave action to make an intentional change that actually makes a difference. And it's hard with eating more and gaining weight and stuff, because people aren't going to understand, or I still believe that this is what is best, like this is what makes a worthy person, and so I should be able to figure this out without making any changes that are drastic, right? I should be able to acupuncture this away. I should be able to supplement my way out of HA, instead of biting the bullet and doing something big, whether it be cutting people out of your life, which could matter because it could be extremely stress related, or it could be, gaining 20, 30 pounds and like terrifying decisions to make for people. But it's what has to be done often. And like, how long are you going to sit there? And this is one of the issues with doing it yourself, right? How long are you going to give yourself the out of like, I'll just wait a little longer, or I shouldn't need to do this. And I just like what you're bringing up and reminding me is that, reminding everyone, is that at a certain point, you have to make some big intentional changes that are hard.
Yeah.
And you have to accept that.
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned this, because like before I got clean from drugs and alcohol, I tried to do it on my own. And I was not successful for many reasons. But like one of them is that like I would, if I was clean for 4 days and I'm like, oh man, I'm just gonna go, smoke weed or do something, go to the bar and drink. I know that no one knows and no one's gonna hold me accountable, and I'm cool with that.
That's why,
what I mean?
Don't some people like tell the bars and like give them a photo of themselves or something, and they're like, don't let me in here?
Well, some people do
that.
because they know that the addiction, it has a control on you. It does it, right? So like they'll say that to say, look, I know I'm going to try to come in here again. And like
and
they need someone.
Casinos will do it.
Yeah. People do that because they know that addiction, like no matter what you do, you can't control it.
This is so similar to what telling the people in your life is.
Exactly.
They will catch you. My husband's he's like, are you not having, because I'll be like, oh, that was delicious, I want more. And he'll be like, are you not having it because you are full, or because you feel like you can't have more, because they know what you're going through, and now they can kind of like,
right,
like, they just keep an eye.
No, definitely. And what's so, look, some of us have really supportive husbands, partners, family members. And I know I've heard some people on this platform share about that their family, like maybe it was a parent that like encouraged them and they do it themselves, and they don't understand that. Why would they stop exercising?
Oh yeah.
That's
people
insane.
Have very unencouraging.
And look, some people don't have that support. And you know what? I'm actually one of those people. Like when I first got clean, I didn't have that support. Unfortunately, I didn't know my husband at the time. He's very supportive now. I didn't know him then, but like, look, I didn't have the support. And so this is why, the HA Society is so important to have that community support, because, even if maybe at home, no one understands why you're doing what you're doing, you come to these community calls or you listen to these podcasts, and you're in a community of people who know exactly what does Danny say at the beginning of her podcast? I've walked wherever you've walked, and I've been wherever you've been. And like, I want to help you. And so you're talking to like-minded women who've either walked your path are walking your path with you or about to walk your path. So you're in a community that like I said, if you don't find that support at home, unfortunately, not everyone has that. I'm sorry to say, but like, don't let that be your reservation out of saying, if my family doesn't care that I don't do it, then maybe I shouldn't. No, come to these meetings and learn why it's important to do what you're doing and to continue on that path. It's not about getting your period back. It's about keeping that, right? To like you want to maintain that. And this is the platform, and this, or, this community will either help you on that path or guide you to resources that you need. Like, I see a lot of women talking about, oh, did you try this for getting, this cycle, for getting fertility method for getting pregnant? And like, people share about, oh, no, I did this, like, maybe talk to this person, or you get the support and the resources that you need. So like, just, keep coming. Like, don't let that lack of support at home be your ticket back out. And the more you recover, what's the funny thing is that the more you are on your recovery path, the more people at home or in your group of circle of friends see that, like, they see that change in you, and they'll be like, wow, you have a healthy glow, or they just, you rely less on them understanding why you're doing what you're doing as like your validation, and more of that, they come to that understanding that it's like kind of like walking your walk and not just talking about it. And so people start seeing that change and glow in you and that difference because you're taking action, and they respect that.
Yeah.
They may not validate you, but they respect that you're in recovery.
You have
and
to
you're
plant
doing
the
your
seed.
thing.
Yeah. You can't expect them to like fully be there, because sometimes it's like, it's actually bad to other women. They're like, what?
Exactly.
And I completely built my community from the ground up. I didn't have anyone, and probably another reason why I went public was because like, I'm gonna make my community, and some really cool things have happened as a result. For anyone who's like afraid, of sharing and how long, if ever, it might take to build your own community. I worked at a nutrition coaching company when I first started, that I felt played a role in my problem. You guys aren't helping me. Like, in fact, maybe encouraging my problem a little bit. And so I shared, and it was uncomfortable. And I don't recommend that for everyone, to be in like leadership board meetings, kind of like arguing about what you can and can't say in marketing campaigns and stuff. But I shared, and now we're at a point where we're friends, but she was my old boss and CEO of that company. Multiple times now, she's been on podcasts a lot to like, talk about tracking macros and nutrition and stuff. And that's a big piece of what she does. And she's really great. But now this is a more prominent issue, right? And so body positivity, body acceptance, etc., comes up in interview questions for her a lot more than it did 5 years ago. And she almost always gets asked, like, well, what do you guys do in this situation? Or in a world now where there's a bit more awareness, or like there's the body positivity movement and body acceptance movement, like, what's your stance? And she needs to have an answer. And her answer, she tells my story. She tells about how, like, we had a team member, and she came and she shared about this, and she made it a big deal, and we like all, we collaborated till we figured it out. And it's like, I helped her make that happen because I shared and told them what I needed and allowed for it to be uncomfortable. And yeah, like, that's not easy for everyone. And there was a lot of tears, and it was a scary thing, but it has impacted her life and her business positively. And same with like Ashley, we wouldn't have found each other if we weren't talking about it and sharing and asking for the help we needed from every community that it was important that we got the help from. You know, I think like just because you can't see the benefit behind the action, like the only thing you can see is taking the action. You can't see how it's going to pay off. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Definitely.
That's just like what I'm thinking.
No, I think it's great. We need people like you in the world, Danny. And what's really cool is like, I just want to share this really quickly, is that we're all different people for a reason. So Danny is like your first mover. She is like, I don't know if people have a business background or not, but you know, she is like the person that makes these, like she's an entrepreneur. She makes these things happen, but we need people like her because there are people that are help in different ways. We all contribute in a different way. And this is just Danny's way, you know, that she is bringing light to a really, honestly, I think it's just as a big issue as, you know, anything else in this world. It's just not talked about. We don't have platforms.
Another friend yesterday, just on Saturday, ask it was a guy who knew, because I'm so like, he knew it. He's like, so is there like much of a market for this issue? And I was like, yes. Oh, it's everywhere.
But that's the thing. It's a huge issue. Well, I don't like to use the word issue, but like it's way bigger. And like before I found Danny and her podcast and YouTube videos, I didn't know that anyone was like me out there. Like, I'm sure I knew that people didn't get their periods, like Olympic gymnast, I thought, right? That was like your classic example of like, oh, no period. Maybe that's primary amenorrhea. They never got it or something. But I never thought that someone like me could relate to someone like them. And we all have different stories. But anyway, to answer, like just to support what you said, there's a huge market. Look how many women that have found your platform already, and how many women that are out there. There's so many women out there. I know it.
Oh, how do I find you?
They'll find you. That's the thing. They'll find you.
I hope so. Or like whatever they need to find, you know, I hope that they find. It's crazy how big this issue is.
It is.
Okay. We've been chatting for a long time. Yeah. But what I want to kind of just like quick recap the takeaways, because I tend to have conversations that can be a bit wild, but you know, we all have addiction in some way, and it's okay to just like acknowledge it. And that, you know, take it from Lindsay, having people around you that get it wherever you find them is crucial to your success in this. It's so important. And that maybe identify your reservations. What are the things, like for a little bit of homework, what's the thing that you have in your head that's like allowing you to only go so far? Because this is a big thing that comes up with my clients, right? Or typically when they start working with us is because they reached the point that they were willing to go on their own. What is actually your point? Are you conscious of it? Like, what's the thing that you're holding on to? Is that how you would say it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's anything that you would, that would make you, it's a threshold, right?
Yeah.
That if you pass this threshold for whatever reason, you can't, you're, that's it. I'm going back to working out. I'm going to restrict again.
Yeah.
Or whatever your pattern is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the thing, like examples that come up for me are people who are like, I need to fit in this wedding dress, and then I have someone else's wedding I need to go to, and then it's going to be my birthday, and and then we're going on this vacation. There's always lots of little reasons. I see that one a lot in this community. And it's like that, like events is a threshold.
But guess what? There's always going to be that. That's the trick. That's the trick. That's why these reservations are so important to talk about, because there's always going to be something. That's addiction. That's that key that keeps you sucked in. That's that disease that's like it wants to pull you back, you know? There's always going to be a reason, or we will make one up because in our head we've already made up. We've already come to that conclusion that I know if I reach that point, I'm going to go back out. no matter what. You've already justified that in your head that that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
So if you don't talk about it to someone, even if it's not on a public platform or in a community call, if you don't talk about it and express it somehow, get it on paper, something, it's going to stay inside and keep you in that spot.
Value of journaling.
Yeah.
Much.
Hey, people write, people talk, people, whatever your expression is, paint it, whatever it is. I don't know, whatever your expression outlet is.
Yeah.
You gotta get it out. It will keep you in, you'll keep you sick.
Lindsay, thank you so much. Guys, if you ever want to chat with Lindsay, you can find her inside of the HA Society. That's a place you can find her. It's the only place I think I know that people can find you. Is that right?
Yeah, it's probably the best place for now.
You're not really like a social media person. So thank you so much for coming and just sharing this perspective. I find it so interesting to hear about it and like make these connections. I think you have given me so many more tools to help talk to other women. And it's just always a pleasure to talk to you on a Monday morning.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Danny, for having me. And to all you listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And also, if you did not understand a word I said, please come back. Just please listen again, come to a call, reach out to Danny. Just, we need you. We love you. And please come back.
Oh, I should need to hire you onto the team.
All
right, everyone, have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women